What if I told you there is a hotel so terrifying that the nightmares you experience inside its walls don't disappear when you wake up? What if I told you that one of the most famous horror stories ever written wasn't entirely fiction? Tonight, we are entering a place where spirits whisper through the vents, where invisible children play in the hallways, and where Room 217 holds a secret powerful enough to scare even the greatest masters of horror. Welcome to the Stanley Hotel, the real-life inspiration behind The Shining. Before we begin this terrifying journey, make sure you subscribe to TSF History and hit the bell icon, because here, history isn't just told, it's resurrected. Let's start. High in the Rocky Mountains of Colorado, in the small, peaceful town of Estes Park, stands a massive white building with red roofing. At first glance, it looks elegant, almost royal. The kind of place rich and famous guests would visit for comfort and luxury. But looks can be deceiving. Beneath this grand and beautiful exterior lies a dark past, one filled with unexplained deaths, ghost sightings, and chilling screams echoing through empty hallways. This is the Stanley Hotel. To understand the haunting, we must go back to the beginning. The year was 1903. A wealthy inventor named Freeland Oscar Stanley, the creator of the famous Stanley Steamer automobile, was diagnosed with tuberculosis. Doctors told him that his days were numbered. His only chance to survive was to breathe fresh mountain air. So he and his wife Flora moved to Estes Park. And to everyone's shock, he got better. The mountain air saved his life. Stanley became deeply grateful to this place and decided to give something back. An extraordinary hotel, a palace of modern luxury and elegance in the middle of wild nature. Construction began, and in 1909, the Stanley Hotel officially opened its doors. Electricity, telephones, a fleet of shining Stanley steamers, this hotel was a wonder of its time. But little did F.O. Stanley know, something dark would also be built inside these walls, something he could not control. The very first paranormal reports started after the hotel opened. Staff members working late nights whispered that a lady dressed in old-fashioned clothing would appear in the ballroom, even when the room was locked. Music would play on its own, soft piano tunes floating in the darkness. The maid said it was Flora Stanley, still enjoying the ballroom she loved so much, even after death. But the ballroom is only the beginning. The hotel soon became a magnet for strange accidents. People fell, slipped, vanished. The staff kept it quiet, fearful that bad publicity would ruin the hotel. But the spirits, they didn't care. The most terrifying room of the hotel, the one that would later become legendary, is Room 217. In 1911, a massive explosion shook the hotel. A severe storm knocked out electricity. A maid named Elizabeth Wilson entered Room 217 with a candle to check the gas lamps. The moment she struck a match, boom, the entire room blew apart. She was thrown down into the dining hall below, but here's where things get disturbing. She didn't die. She woke up with minor injuries and immediately returned to work. After that night, guests began reporting that their suitcases were mysteriously unpacked while they slept. Shoes lined up neatly, clothes folded perfectly. As if someone was taking care of them, the staff had a theory. Elizabeth Wilson was still checking on Room 217, doing her job from the afterlife. People sleeping in that room often said they felt an invisible presence sitting on the edge of their bed, watching them through the night. That's when the hotel's charm began to shift into pure terror. Children laughing when no children were staying at the hotel. Doors unlocking and opening on their own. Lights flickering even during the day. And the sound of footsteps following guests down the hall, but no one was behind them. The Stanley Hotel became known not for its beauty, but for its ghosts. Now, fast forward to the 1970s.
A man named Stephen King, struggling with writer's block and a growing alcohol problem, decided to take a break with his wife Tabitha. They needed peace, a quiet place. They drove into Estes Park and found the Stanley Hotel. But it wasn't crowded or cheerful like they expected. In fact, they were the only guests staying that night. The hotel was shutting down for the winter season, and the staff gave them room 217, the most active room in the entire place. Stephen King didn't know that yet. The hallways were silent. Dim lights flickered overhead. The bar was empty. The giant dining room, built for hundreds of people, had only 2 chairs occupied, just King and his wife. When he walked the corridors alone, he heard faint echoes, a girl laughing, a ball bouncing, but when he turned, nothing. Only the cold hallway stretching endlessly behind him. That night would change horror history forever. King had a nightmare. In the dream, his son ran down the hallway of the hotel, chased by a fire hose. The hose twisted like a huge snake, ready to kill. King woke up sweating, his heart racing, and in that moment, he saw it, the entire story in his mind. The hotel, the trapped family, the madness, the ghosts, the evil that lives inside walls. Within hours, the novel The Shining was born. The Stanley Hotel became the birthplace of one of the greatest horror stories ever written. But here's an important detail most people don't know. Stephen King believes the haunting he experienced wasn't imagination. The hotel woke something, and it never stopped. After The Shining became a global phenomenon, people from around the world rushed to the Stanley not for luxury, but to be terrified. Ghost tours, haunted rooms, paranormal investigations. The hotel embraced its dark reputation. But the spirits were not performing for entertainment. Room 217 is still the most requested and the most feared room of all. Guests have reported a woman's figure standing in the darkness, lights turning on by themselves, shadows moving along the walls, a tight pressure around their neck as if someone was choking them, and objects thrown across the room without warning. Some guests check in excited and fearless. They check out pale and shaking. But spirits are not only in room 217. Let's travel down the corridors. Room 428, guests see a cowboy sitting at the edge of the bed, staring at them in silence. Some say he touches their feet. Others feel his breath on their face. When they scream, he vanishes. The 4th floor, once used for children and nannies. Now, people hear children running at night, a rubber ball bouncing on hardwood floors, but when you open the door to check, the hallway is empty. The grand staircase, a place of elegance, a symbol of class, but cameras often capture strange mist-like figures moving up the stairs, shadows shaped like humans but with no faces. The basement, staff members refuse to go alone. Cold spots suddenly freeze your skin. You feel like someone is standing right behind you, breathing on your neck. And finally, the concert hall. Built so Flora Stanley could enjoy music. Today, her ghost remains, demanding performances. When no musicians are present, the piano plays itself. A song with no source, a melody from the grave. But the most chilling spirit in this building is a small boy. Guests see him crying near their beds. When they ask, "Where are your parents?" he disappears into thin air. Experts who have investigated the Stanley Hotel say something unusual. The spirits here aren't trapped by violent death or murder. They are connected by emotion, by love, by memories too strong to let go. The ghosts here lived happy lives, and they simply refuse to leave. But not every spirit is kind. Over the years, multiple guests have described an invisible force pulling them while they sleep. Some wake up with scratches that were not there before. Others feel someone whispering right into their ear. One guest shared that she woke up in room 217 unable to breathe, as if someone was sitting on her chest, pinning her down. She fought, gasped, screamed silently, and suddenly it stopped. When the lights came on, her door was wide open. No one else was in the hallway. If you ask the hotel management, they'll tell you, these ghosts are permanent residents, and every year their activity grows stronger. Even modern paranormal experts with advanced cameras and audio recorders admit something terrifying. They don't know whether the hotel is haunted by the dead or fueled by the living. Fear feeds the building. Every scream strengthens the energy. Stephen King once returned to the hotel after many years. He refused to stay in room 217 again. But when asked in an interview if the ghosts are real, he paused, smiled, and replied, "I believe the hotel is alive." Maybe that's the truth. The Stanley Hotel feels like it has a pulse, a soul, a hunger. Every guest leaves with a story. Some laugh it off, some never speak about it again. But one thing is certain, the hotel watches, day and night. If you dare to stay at the Stanley Hotel, remember one thing, you are not alone. The walls know your name. The floors feel your footsteps. The mirrors reflect more than your face. And when you turn off the lights, something in the darkness turns and looks back at you. This is not just a hotel. This is a haunting made of wood, stone, and memory. A haunting that inspired the greatest horror of our generation. The Stanley Hotel, home of the shining, home of the spirits that never checked out. If you ever visit, make sure you sleep tight, because the shadows there don't like to wait. Before you leave this video, I have one question for you. Would you dare to spend a night in room 217? If your answer is yes, then let's hope the ghosts agree. Thank you for watching TSF History. If you enjoyed this terrifying story, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss the darkest chapters from history. Because here at TSF History, we turn the past into nightmares.